Hello, good evening, and welcome back. As BLM continues to infiltrate the FA and all the games that are being played on this great nation, fans are let back in, and in Millwall, that it hasn't gone down very well. So some Millwall fans booed players taking a knee at the start of the championship match against Derby County on Saturday. Well, of course they did. And although, as we will go on to see, that the FA tries to say this is in no way political messaging, we all know what BLM stands for. And no, it doesn't stand for Black Lives Matter. It stands for removing police, quotas for blacks instead of whites, stripping the family unit. These are the things that it actually stands for. Not at all about the preservation of black people. Not at all. Not in the slightest. They say that it is supposed to go against unwarranted police aggression or violence against black people. It is, of course, supposed to go against discrimination, as in racial prejudice. But going by the actions and the facts of the matters at play, it does not at all. When we see racial quotas, as in, you can only get this job if you're black, that is not the kind of thing we're looking for if you're just saying that Black Lives Matter. We can all agree that lives matter. And for most of us, we do not need to put a racial element before whose lives matter, which is why we would say all lives matter. Simple as that. But when that is called out for being racist, it is quite obvious that there is a lot more to it, as we're seeing here. So they say it is the first time supporters have been allowed into the Den this season following the lifting of the second national lockdown on 2nd of December. The boos rang out as the two teams took a knee before kick-off in a game which Wayne Rooney's Rams won 1-0. Mika Richards said, "It is just disheartening. How do these fans get allocated to the games?" Well, chances are they're probably fans who greatly appreciate the great sport of football and also greatly appreciate their teams. And they are behind them 100% when it comes to the game of football. People are there for sport. The idea is you support your team in their endeavour, which in this case is football, and you encourage them along, and you hope that they win because they are a part of you. It is part of your culture. It is part of your inheritance even, to say, this is where I grew up, these are the people that I interact with, this is the team that I support. I mean, sure, when teams start bringing in foreign nationals to play for them, it gets a bit different. But nonetheless, that is the idea behind it. And there have been various studies shown, as psychological studies, to show the measurable neurological differences and hormonal differences when a fan of a football team sees their team win or lose. It's very similar to having themselves win or lose. It is an incredibly vicarious experience, and it's very cathartic for fans as well. But they seem to just skip all of this, because of course they will, because it goes against the narrative. So players, officials and staff at Premier League and English Football League games have been taking a knee pre-match since football restarted in June in order to show their support for the BLM movement for Marxism. Oh, racial equality. Except, no, it isn't. If you can point out to me an instance that they're trying to go against a systemic racist inequality that they're trying to rectify and are taking steps to do so, then by all means I'll be behind you 100%. If you're trying to remove quotas so the best person for the job will get it, then I'm behind you 100%. Except they're not. They're trying to address the symptoms instead of the causes. If you wish to say, oh, but more black people are stopped by police than white people, so okay, why is that? Is it because they're more likely to be committing crimes, committing violent crimes, resisting arrest? Quite possibly. Okay, why are we using racial frames? Why don't we instead say it's down to single-parent households? Broken homes, if you will. And then why is that? Because of the welfare state. Right. So how about we encourage families, instead of trying to split them apart, which is what the BLM movement is trying to do, and remove the encouragement, the incentives for women to raise children on their own. How about we do that? We address the root cause and we encourage families to stay together, because that is really the main reason why this happens. And unfortunately, that is only really seen because people wish to split people up based on racial or ideological groups. For example, Jews, who do exceptionally well, leading to many anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, that most of the time you see, well, it's a work ethic instilled at a young age when both parents are present. And it's as simple as that. If you wish to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, by all means do so, but you've got to know you're starting at a point at which both the parents are there, and they're instilling a good work ethic into their children, which you do not see from broken homes. There's too much going on in order to give the children the attention and the guidance that they need. And that is seen a lot in black neighborhoods or black families. So that is the issue that needs addressing. And yeah, I know Colin Kaepernick started it in America because of the violence against black people from the police, which is happening more so than for white people. But in the UK, it has no standing. More white people proportionately die in police custody than black people. More unarmed white people are killed per capita than unarmed black people in the UK per proportion, per capita. So it has no standing in the UK whatsoever. At all. So just trying to think that you can take this ideology from the US and import it into the UK does not work at all. In the US, the case is flimsy at best. In the UK, it doesn't work in the slightest. But Mika Richards, told BBC TV's Final Score, there were 2,000 fans, so you can pinpoint the people going. There are no excuses. I'm sick to death of talking about the situation. Brilliant. Well, let's not address it. He says, it is so disheartening because it feels like we have come so far, but we have so far to go. Where? Name it exactly. What precisely is the issue? Then we can address it on those precise terms. And this level of precision, as Dominic Frisby pointed out of all people, as did Lindy Beige, a non-political or apolitical YouTube channel, which I highly recommend. He's great monologues. That if people are saying, for example, immigration, that there's too much or there's not enough, it's like, okay, can you dictate the exact number of people that you're okay with or would want? Or can you lay out your schema in order to decide what it is that you're saying, or what it is that you're wanting? If you're saying there are too many people, well, how many is okay? If you're saying that you should use a different criteria, then say use a different criteria instead of just saying there are too many. If there aren't enough, then how many should there be in order to be enough? It's that kind of thing. That level of precision is where all of this falls down, because it's no longer sound bites, but it's actually getting through to the issue. And a lot of people have not thought this through enough, and they're just swayed by talking points. So no, it comes down to actually knowing exactly what you want and pinning it down directly. So the same goes for Mika Richards. You're saying you can pinpoint the people going. Brilliant. So can you pinpoint where it is that we have so far to go to? No, of course you can't. It's bullshit. What are you going to say? It's like, oh, more black people arrested than white people. So, okay, so what you're saying then, if I understand correctly, is you'll only be happy when the same proportion of black people get arrested as white people. So you're no longer caring about the crimes, you're no longer caring about the individuals. All you give a shit about is the skin colour of the person that's being arrested. Doesn't matter what the crime is, doesn't matter. What are you going to say then to the police officers? That, oh, well, we've arrested 5 black people this month, 50 white people. That's it. We got to arrest some more white people before we can arrest black people. So you're either going to say, yeah, well, sorry, it's coming to the end of the month and we've already overseen our quota of how many black people we can arrest, so it's just going to be like the purge for the last week of each month. Or you're going to say, well, we do need to arrest these people because they are committing half the violent crime in the UK, but in order to try and make it square up, we're going to have to try and prosecute some white people on some mediocre offences. But is that going to be enough? Are you then going to say that murder is akin to a speeding ticket? Because at least then the numbers at the end of the day show that there's some prosecution happening. Is that what you want? What is it precisely that you're looking for? And of course they can't pin it down, because they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. He goes on to say, I don't even like talking about the matter. It feels like it falls on deaf ears. It is time and time and time again. Yeah, it might feel like it's falling on deaf ears because you're not bloody listening to the responses. If you're just ignoring all the responses and not addressing anything at all which runs counter to your narrative, then of course it's going to sound like it's falling on deaf ears. Whereas, in actuality, this is very much so projection. I'm more than happy to have a chat with Mika Richards, and we can discuss this and say, okay, what is it that you're looking for? How can we implement this? What is it that you finally be happy with? Are you aware of the consequences of this? Do you think it's worth addressing the root issue instead? But, of course, he's not going to give me the time of day, because what he's saying is falling on my deaf ears. Brilliant. Former Coventry and Aston Villa striker Dion Dublin, who had a loan spell added, they don't agree with taking the knee, which means they are racist. Yeah, you're clearly not aware of what BLM stands for. Or if you are, you're a deceitful little shit weasel of the week, if you will, to steal a phrase, because you're just subverting the narrative. It says, they don't agree with Black Lives Matter, that says they are racist to me. And this is just language games of the left. Either Dion is lying, or he's too ignorant to realise, too stupid to realise, that the BLM movement stands for a fuckload more than those 3 words. As I said at the top. But we're going to move on for something that is actually important, and I wish to give them the benefit of the doubt before I rip them to shreds. Because it's worthwhile, about the Football Association themselves, with Millwall preparing anti-discrimination strategy, and I dread to think what that is. But, on Friday, Millwall's first team squad issued a statement supporting efforts to rid the game of all forms of discrimination. No, you don't. You really don't. Discriminating just means using a certain set of criteria to have an in-group or an out-group. If you wish to rid the game of all forms of discrimination, that includes football skill. Put simply, yeah, we're not going to discriminate of the good players that we hire against the bad players that we don't. There's no discrimination. How are you going to decide who joins the team then? First come, first serve? No, because of course then you're discriminating against the people who get in first, against the people who get in last. So if you're not discriminating, how the fuck are you deciding? Just a lottery then. It's like your name's in the hat, you wanted to play, and your numbers come up. Good on you. You're in the team. It's like, I put this in as a joke. I don't even know the rules of football. What's the offside rule? It's like, you're in the team because we don't discriminate. Clearly bullshit. The statement added, the gesture of taking the knee, and this is the important bit. They say, the gesture of taking the knee before matches provides an opportunity for us to do exactly that and continues to allow those playing to publicly showcase their support on behalf of the whole squad for the fight against discrimination. We wish to make clear that taking the knee for us is in no way representative of any agreement with political messaging or ideology. It is purely about tackling discrimination, as has been the case throughout. And that particular paragraph is vital. Is really vital. Because what they've done is quite simply gone, oh, I see people are doing that. Why are they doing that? Black Lives Matter. Yeah, I support Black Lives. I mean, who doesn't? It's like, oh, these police or these other bad people. And well, they're clearly awful. And not read anything else into it, not understand what BLM stands for, anything like that. And just see it completely at face value and decide, yeah, I'm going to get involved and I'm going to buy in. It's the kind of people that easily get scammed, lose their money, invest in shit companies because they don't do their due diligence or their research. This is the kind of person we're talking about here. Just goes, oh, it sounds good on face value. Let me buy in wholeheartedly and completely and take all of the risk myself. That is the kind of person you're dealing with here. So, they've got good intentions. However, they're participating in a movement that does not have good intentions. So, although they're trying to do it to say, well, yeah, this is just for, tackling discrimination and it's against racism. We don't care about the politics or that ideology or anything. We're just trying to end racism, if you will. But for a start, ending racism is impossible. But ending systemic racism, I think we can all get behind. That's perfectly fine. Skin color doesn't really matter. Plus, you're then going to have to use a paint chart for saying anything below this shade is unacceptable and above is okay. It's like, no, it comes far more down to cultures instead. But anywho, that's the point. In which case, yes, that's perfectly acceptable. Good on you. But you're then saying, well, what you're then doing is showing support for a movement of which it seems that you do not support. In which case, maybe pick another gesture. If you wish to say, we don't stand for racism, it's like, cool. as to the rest of us. It's a pointless message. If you wish to virtue signal and do nothing about it, fair enough. We kind of presume that anyway. We didn't think you were racist, but if you feel the need to point it out, fair enough. Or if you wish to be more precise and say, stop arresting black people, then say that. I don't think that's what you think, because you haven't really looked into it. But in that case, fair enough. What if somebody were to say, it's like, yeah, I agree with the Italians, in fact, the ancient Romans, and their way of doing things as a republic, and therefore, in order to show my solidarity with the Romans, I'm going to enact the Roman salute when I meet people. It's like, oh, but that Roman salute has kind of been co-opted by Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. I know, and that's got different connotations, but I don't believe in that. I'm just doing the Roman salute. Or, actually, to make it more precise then, if you will, it's to say, well, yeah, I believe in socialism, and there's this National Socialist Workers' Party that also encouraged socialism, and their display was raising their right arm straight out, palm down. So I'm going to do that because, they say they're the National Socialist Party, well, National Socialist Workers' Party, and I agree with that. It sounds good. I'm on board. So I'm going to be supporting that by showing my high arm action when I meet people. I see nothing wrong with this. So, you seem to be missing the fact that the Nazi Party did a hell of a lot more than just what the name implies. Same as the same as North Korea, which is supposedly democratic. It's clearly not. It's just word games. So it sounds good at first glance, but any little research into it shows that there's a lot more to it. So if you do not wish to be associated with your political messaging or ideology from the BLM movement, then do not use the same actions. It is as simple as that. You can do something else. And if you're concerned about ambiguity, then just say exactly what you mean. And not some vague things of end racism now, or kick it out, but actually exactly what you mean. But you can't do that because you don't know what you mean. And you're just trying to hold the mob at bay while you denigrate your fans. That is what it's down to at the end of the day. And their tactic, as Kick It Out Chair Sanjay Bandare goes on to say, is just saying, we urge the players to continue using their platforms and their voices to support this fight. What is the fight? End racism. How? It keeps mentioning it. It's like, what, keep making people aware of racial differences? Good job. Yeah, you fucked it up already, and you've barely started. But that's it. They're just going to keep denigrating the fans, not knowing where the fucking money's coming from, realising that once they do, it's just go work, get broke. There is not enough support for this. How many actual football supporters give a shit about BLM and support it? I would say it's negligible. That's what I would say. I would say there's a lower percentage of football supporters, ardent football supporters, who give a shit about BLM than there are fraudulent votes in the US election. That's what I'd say. So them pandering to these people is going work and getting broke. It's the vocal minority. So, as always, with all these cases, what I want to ask and find out from these individuals is what exactly is that you're trying to stop. Precisely. Not a buzzword of racism, but what is it? You don't want any more black people killed? Well then black on black crime is the way to go. How do we address that? Keeping the parents together to raise the family. It's like, oh, fewer police killing black people. So okay, how do we address that? Oh, same thing. It's like, oh, but we can't tell people to keep a family together. Okay, in that case, you want fewer arrests for black people. Yeah, that'd be good. So then letting them get away with crime. Because of their race. Treating them differently and allowing them to do whatever they want. Is that what you want? Because if that's what you want, why don't you come out and say it instead of hiding behind these phrases? But just to, and that's it. But just to finish up, because it's the BBC and we all love ripping them as well. Defund the BBC. Did they say, the Black Lives Matter movement and taking a knee has grown in prominence in the United Kingdom following the death of George Floyd in the US in May, which sparked protests around the world. Factually true. Can't argue with that. Yeah, true. However, the next sentence. The 46-year-old, an unarmed black man, died after a white police officer held a knee on his neck for nearly 9 minutes. Let's try this again. The 46-year-old, an unarmed black man, sure if you wish, with a lengthy criminal history and had just been arrested again, who was off his tits on intoxication, including having overdosed on fentanyl, and saying that he was positive for COVID, was restrained by police using a practice which had been proven as safe from a study 13 or 15 years prior and was continued to be used in the force, and died while the police were trying to get a paramedic for him. Doesn't sound quite so bad now, does it? I can see why they don't mention the truth. But as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Always intrigued to hear what I have to say. And tomorrow's podcast is going to have to be delayed until about 8 o'clock. I will post tomorrow. My work is just taking over at the moment. I'm looking forward to a single day off. But like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff really does help the channel out. And until next time, as always, have a good one.